We are live.
Okay.
Well, I would like to welcome everyone who is in attendance to the first open forum for the Middle State Self-Study. I am Sue Bousquet, and I have been a part of this process for the last couple of years, and I'm excited to introduce myself and to be part of it today, and to introduce my fellow moderator, and Franklin.
Hello, I'm Franklin Turner. I'm the Executive Director of the School of Psychology. I'm the co-chair of the Evidence Inventory Working Group.
So we have today a brief presentation that provides an overview of the self-study process. For those of you who are intimately familiar with the process, hopefully this won't be too torturous, but we are hoping that for those who are tuned in and haven't really been paying much attention to the Middle State Self-Study at Kean University, that this will be an informative process. So we, as I said, we have some slides, and we'll get going.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So, as you're all very aware, the Middle States Commission on Higher Education is Kean University's accrediting body. And maintaining our accreditation is an important element of our success. It is testimony to the confidence that the Middle States Commission has in our own mission and goals, our performance, and the resources that we have. The accreditation process is quite in depth. It's comprehensive. It entails a reflective self-study. In this self-study, we demonstrate compliance with the standards as enshrined by the Middle States Commission, but we also provide information as to how we meet those standards while pursuing our own mission, Kean University's unique mission, and that mission guides everything that we do.
And to add on to that, the self-study is a valuable process in which institutional priorities are identified, which align with our mission. This self-study process has been and will continue to be a very powerful engine that will help the growth of this institution moving forward.
Absolutely. It will inform the decisions that we make, both now and in the future. So it is a valuable process. For those of you who are not familiar with the 7 standards for accreditation, each standard looks at a very specific facet of our institution and how we serve our students and our community: mission and goals, ethics and integrity, the design and delivery of the student learning experience, the support of the student experience, educational effectiveness assessment, how we plan and utilize our resources for institutional improvement, and of course, lastly, the governance, leadership, and administration of Kean University.
And in 2022, we will be evaluated by Middle States. Through this process, we have to provide evidence and document compliance with the commission standards, which you're looking at now on the screen, for accreditation, requirements of affiliation, policies, procedures, and federal compliance requirements. The university, we began working on this self-study in the academic year of 2019 to 2020. Since then, many members of the Kean have engaged an in-depth, comprehensive reflection, a reflective assessment process to identify institutional priorities, as well as opportunities for improvement and innovation. And again, you're looking at our 7 standards that guided this self-study process.
Franklin, if you'll move the slide forward, maybe we can take a look at the institutional priorities. One of the most wonderful things about the self-evaluation process is that each institution identifies its own unique priorities, and they are incorporated into the self-study. This makes the work that we're doing for the self-study report familiar and relevant to each and every member of our community. These are themes that we all are familiar with. Kean University has a long history. Excellence and equity, to ensure that our commitment to excellence and equity is embodied in all of our practices and services. A second priority has to do with upstanders. It's a clever word that we use to convey the importance of community responsibility, standing up. So the importance of that responsibility, and that we work with integrity in all campus life experiences for our students. And then the third priority, which is on the next slide, is to assess the existing programs to help with our evolution, to look at our programs, our resources, identifying growth opportunities, building on our existing capabilities and strengths, looking at our facilities, our instructional sites, the current programs or reimagined programs, so that we can prepare Kean University for continued evolution.
Go ahead. Under the guidance of the Executive Steering Committee, we have working groups that have been established based on criteria set by Middle States. Each working group was assigned one of the 7 Middle State standards, with one additional, which would be evidence inventory, which is responsible for collecting all the evidence and putting it in one central repository, which in this case would be Digital Commons, so everyone could have access to the evidence that is posted within the report. The working groups are comprised of faculty, staff, administrators, and students. The working groups conducted a robust review and evaluation of the university's programs, practices, and policies relevant to the standards that they were assigned. And you are looking at the co-chairs of all the working groups.
In addition to the 7 standards, there's also a working group that focused on the requirements of affiliation. And although that actually is part of one of the standards, because of the care with which we as Kean University need to show how we meet those requirements, they're a separate working group. So, thank you.
Thank you.
The timeline, so the timeline we've truncated so that it shows what we're doing this semester, fall 2021, and then in the spring semester of 2022. Of course, our work began long before this, but this is the most relevant information. We invite you to take a look and to carefully examine the timeline in your leisure, but we're about 2/3 of the way through this particular timeline. We are beginning the open forums. And while I'm mentioning that, I do have to clarify something that I said earlier, that this is the first open forum that we've had since posting the self-study draft. We have had forums previously, so I do want to point that out, but this is the first open forum where we're welcoming specifically related to the self-study report, the analysis that those working groups co-chairs, and in many cases, members across the institution work very hard to prepare. So this ends just about at the beginning of the next most important part, where we submit the draft of our self-report to Middle States, to the evaluation team. So I do want to mention that there are many opportunities, and we will repeat this later, many opportunities to get feedback from the entire community. The actual self-study, the evaluation site visit, will be virtual this year, but nevertheless, it is scheduled for mid-March to mid-April, and I'm sorry, mid-April. And we are looking forward to that. But there are a lot of steps between now and then that we need to engage in, and getting the community's feedback is perhaps the most important part right now.
And that is where we are in the process. A current draft of the document has been posted onto the Middlesex sub website for everyone to view and to provide feedback, which Dr. Brisquet had mentioned. And now this is one of first many open forums that we're going to do to get feedback on that.
So we could look at the timeline, but it's much easier to summarize that the self-study design was proposed and approved last academic year. The working groups had already begun and continued their work in pursuing the lines of inquiry, collecting evidence, uploading evidence to demonstrate our compliance with the Middle States standards. So the internal evaluation process is essentially what you see in the self-study draft that's posted on the Middle States web pages. And you can see that a lot of work has gone into this endeavor.
And then the process after our internal evaluations is the external evaluation that was mentioned when we were discussing the timeline. The Middle States Commission has selected a team of trained, knowledgeable, and appropriate peer evaluators to visit the institution virtually and conduct an evaluation based upon the institutional self-study. The commission standards of accreditation required of affiliation, policies, procedures, and federal compliance.
So here we are now. We have the draft. We have the draft of the self-report, the self-study, we need to bring you up to speed as to what's been happening behind the scenes. So early this academic year, the editing team, individuals who have been identified for their organizational and writing prowess, have streamlined the drafts, trying to reduce the redundancy. And then after that go around, the executive committee provided feedback to each of the working groups to give them more direction, to perhaps fill in the gaps, to create, I think, a more powerful narrative about how Kean University is in compliance with the Middle States standards. The iteration that you're looking at was produced in record time. All of those drafts reports from the working groups were woven together by the editing team, and of course supported by the evidence inventory. And for those of you that are familiar with the evidence that has been accumulated, it is a significant body of information. We're very grateful for the evidence inventory group, Franklin and Mohammed in particular, who have worked so hard on organizing all of that information.
Great, and I am going to apologize for lack of names, but the editing team record time is probably, it was able to turn this around in an incredible amount of time. But holistically, this was a huge team effort from the executive committee to the steering committee and to other people who were asked at last minute to come in and provide help and support. So this was a significant undertaking, which a lot of responsibilities was shared amongst numerous people.
Thank you, Franklin. I think it's important for us to share the glory and to share the acknowledgement of the hard work that went into this. So the accreditation process, where we're at today. So now that we have a draft of the self-study that speaks to each of the 7 standards, that includes our institutional priorities, that has a quite impressive evidence inventory. It's now the moment where every member of the Kean University community, everyone, students, faculty, staff, administrators, members of the board, and those in the broader communities we serve, every member is invited to provide input, make suggestions, ask questions, identify where we might have omitted something, and then always help us ready this draft for submission to Middle States.
So thus far, our written feedback has come from full-time and adjunct faculty, students, administrators, and Wenzhou, Kean, and Kean US, which would include Union, Ocean, and Skylands. Excellent.
And so some of the feedback that we'll expand upon later, but just to give you a preview of some of the details that we'll be sharing, the feedback has focused on our global initiatives, our library resources, the R2 initiative, opportunities for students with special needs or disabilities, classroom technology, sustainability in campus operations, the general education program, the School of General Ed, internships and their effect on retention, graduation, and performance in the class GPA, and campus safety and security. So today, I want to mention that for those who provided written feedback, they were given the option to share their own summary of that information or that input during this open forum. And so we are happy to invite those speakers to share at this point.
Julia, would you mind unmuting yourself? And good afternoon to you. How are you?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for sharing with the Kean University community the hard work that you have been engaged in. Of course, everything is happening at the same time. They are fixing my kitchen as we speak. But thank you so much again for this opportunity. And this has been something, the question that I posed, it's really a comment to expand upon, since we are moving towards the R2 designation. I'm also the chair of the University Assessment Committee, and I'm glad to see that Mukulang Charva is also with us. And we were asked to revise our charge to include the R2 consideration. And my question was moving along the lines of how, and I look at the report, at the draft, and I saw the part on the R2 designation. So my question was, how can we fold in assessment with the R2 designation? Now that I'm asking the question, I think that this is something to be worked more fully with a committee or any other process. But that was really where my question was at, since I know that this is a heavily loaded assessment component to it, how the R2 designation fits into that. And then while I was looking at the report, I also noticed that And last Thursday, Dr. Youngblood, one of our new VPs, emphasized engaged scholarship. So I think that that could be a welcome addition in terms of our students, which is that in which, especially in sociology, we are interested in social justice issues. My second book about climate change, I helped a community during Hurricane Sandy. So this notion of engaged scholarship and trying to make of our students leaders in their communities, I think that could be a welcome addition to the kind of pedagogical experience that Kean University provides.
Thank you, Julia. I think that that's so for those of you that don't know, Julia Navarez, she is one of our faculty in the School of Social Sciences, sociology in particular. And so this intersectionality that you are mentioning, I think is so important. And I, while I'm not editorializing, what I do want to say is that the working groups are going to be looking at this feedback, and they will be using the feedback from the community, taking it into consideration to do more work. So thank you, Julia.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Sure. Thank you. So not quite sure how to move this forward. We may have another speaker who we would like to let in to the Zoom session. Okay, so it looks as if our second speaker isn't joining us at this moment. So thank you, Julia, and we hope that in the open forums that follow, that others will share their own perspectives in relationship to the input regarding the self-study draft. So I'm very appreciative that Julia set the tone, and I thank her very much for participating today. The feedback form that folks could access also allowed for written input, written feedback. And so I wanted to expand a little bit upon the points that were made earlier regarding the self-study draft. And as I mentioned a moment ago, I think that that the working groups are very anxious to hear from the community and to take into consideration the kind of commentary that was provided in written form. So I know that you all can read, but I will share the fact that the report, some of the written feedback included, one point was that the report should provide further detail about the opportunities for students with special needs or those with disabilities. Another individual reported on how welcome the enhancements to classroom technology have been during this past year and a half, and hope that these enhancements continue to evolve so that instructors are more effective and that students have a better learning experience. Interestingly, one respondent suggested that sustainability should be declared as university value, and that we should develop initiatives to integrate sustainability into campus operations, encouraging energy efficient vehicles, energy audits, green infrastructure, et cetera. And while Kean has done some of that, I think that, again, the working groups will be looking at this feedback to see they can make their case even clearer. There's additional feedback on another slide. Our general education program is such an important foundation for all of the programs that we have at Kean University, and that written feedback included the suggestion that all faculty should be encouraged to be educated about this program, about how the GE program utilizes assessment, how they assess the GE program SLOs. There's an offer on the table that any questions or concerns can be directed specifically to the School of General Studies. Bridie Chapman and Susan Ahern would be delighted to hear from any member of the community with questions. The next item came from someone from, I believe, Wenjo Kean. And that was to further investigate the effects of internship participation. Our self-study report reports the positive impact of participation as an undergraduate in an internship experience. And this is an opportunity for Kean University researchers to look even deeper into what other factors are at play in improving retention, GPA, and time to graduation in relationship to internships. And a final item theme that came from one of our respondents had to do with a review of current security measures at Kean, and this was sadly prompted by a recent incident on campus. But I think that it does highlight that need to make sure that our report includes how campus safety and security is protected on all of our campuses.
So thanks to all those who provided feedback in advance of this open forum. Please continue to comment, suggest, point out inaccuracies and omissions. That is only going to make this report stronger. So all your support, continued support is greatly appreciated. To all, we encourage you to do the same. Your participation will strengthen our self-study and its important impact on our beloved Kean University.
So now it's a call to action. Let's spread the word. And then this particular slide includes some important reminders to be reminded that the self-study is a collaborative and transparent process. So we need your participation. And there's several ways that you can be involved. You can review the self-study website. There you can access the self-study draft report. You can familiarize yourself with the accreditation quick guide. You can look at the timeline. So there are many resources on that webpage, and so the link is embedded here. You can submit your feedback, your comments, suggestions using the feedback form. So there is a link there, and of course in other announcements and email communications that come out of university relations. And of course, we want you to talk this up, share the information with your peers, and keep the momentum going. We want this to be a process that everyone feels as if they've been a part of. And there's that QRL code
that you're more welcome to scan. That will take you directly to the form where you could add your feedback. If hopefully you're so motivated after what you heard today, things clicked for you and you want to provide your feedback, please go to the QR code and you could do so. Before we end, I definitely want to thank Dr. Bousquet in your retirement and your continued commitment to Kean University, that you opted to continue to stay on the steering committee to make sure we had continuity, and that we had a smooth transition from you formally being at the university into your retirement. So we thank you for you staying on and helping us continue through this process. So thank you so much, one, for your service to the university as a whole, and for your service during this Middle States process.
Well, thank you, Dr. Turner. I can tell you that I thank you and all of those who participated in this. You are the next generations of Kean University, and I am so pleased at your participation and your commitment to making this accreditation process a valuable one and a successful one. So thank you.
Thank you. So I think with that, we could, Dr. Biscay, I guess we could say goodbye to everyone.
I think we can. I think that there are continued open forums, so please pay attention to the communications from the president, from university relations, from the offices of accreditation and assessment and institutional effectiveness. Please pay attention, jump in. We would love to take your feedback. We are looking forward to your participation in this process.
Great. And with that, thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for viewing with us and your commitment to learning more about the process and providing feedback.
Thank you, Franklin. Thank you all.